Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Natitude News, the podcast. Yeah, we're gonna probably jump straight into this, but first I want to say that when it comes to the podcast, I'm gonna try to limit the podcast to the end of series, just because I want to do like a full recap of everything. However, this one is gonna be a little shorter, just because I'm only talking about one game, and that that is the Nationals beating the Athletics 23-4. Uh, that's one of the biggest ones I've seen as a Nats fan in my life. Probably the biggest, if I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, a lot of players to talk about. So let's just jump straight into this, just because I feel like I'm going to forget it if I don't talk about it. At least I want to talk about Cade Cavalli a little bit, what he did, because I feel like that'll get overshadowed, unfortunately. He came off a couple, I wouldn't say rough starts against the Pirates and Yankees, but he certainly didn't have his best stuff, unlike he did with the Red Sox. 7 innings, one hit. It's just that was a masterful work, and I think and he did really good today. He didn't. I think he finished with like 90 something pitches, so he worked his full pitch count up. He pitched 6 full innings. Only allowed 4 hits. He only allowed 2 runs, which was on a Soderstrom home run. 9 strikeouts. Really, really good work by Cade Cavalli to really limit the damage. Once it got to 8-2, he held shutdown innings for the Nats. He did good with keeping the runs low. Pitch count was solid for 6 innings. We'll take that any day of the week. And then Riley Cornelio came in. He's had, I wouldn't say the greatest of starts as a pitcher for the Nats. It's good to see him working in those low leverage situations. Because he hasn't really, his first game against the White Sox, he got thrown into a tie ball game in the 7th inning in his debut. So, that was a tough first appearance from him way back in, what was it, April? So he hasn't played like awesome. He hasn't pitched awesome. Stats on the year. He's 0-1 with 6.7 ERA, 14 innings pitched, 17 strikeouts. So, maybe make sure that he can be effective in those low leverage situations, and then once he proves himself, maybe move him up to some high leverage situations, maybe later in the year, if we're competing or not. Who knows what we're going to be doing. But with this bullpen, you never know, right? Nobody ever knows with this bullpen what we're going to do, what's going to happen on any given day. And then because we were up so much, usually you don't see a position player pitching in a win. Usually it's if you're losing by a lot, you throw your position player out there just to save some arms for the next day. But Joby Vivas came in to throw. He pitched 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 runs that came on a Shea Langeliers homer and a single, I think it was, or a sac fly. I don't know what it was. I wasn't. I kind of turned off the game once it got really late, and it was getting to like 1 a.m. And I'm like, maybe I should probably go to bed instead of watching this game, which is going to be a blowout anyways. So now let's talk about the fun part, which is the hitting. Now, a couple points about this game. We could talk about Chaparro first. We could talk about Harry Ford. I think we just do in order. I think we should talk about in order what happened, because there's a lot of things that happened in last night. Not just Chaparro, not just Harry Ford. Let's talk about Curtis Mead for a second. I believe he went 4 for 6. Let's just talk about his stats this year so far. 257 average, 17 homers, 47 RBIs, and an 865 OPS. If anybody had that coming into the year, you're a liar. You did not predict that. He's just been so good for us. After we looked pretty terrible in the first 2 innings against Carson, what is it? Yeah, Gage Jump. That's a funny name. I forgot that name. Gage Jump, the pitcher for the Athletics. After we looked a little silly against him, we got a couple runners on, and Curtis Mead doubled. down the left field line to score, I believe, Nunez and Jacob Young. And then Chaparro drove in Curtis Mead after that. So it was 3-0 in after the third. So already off to a good start. Chaparro, we'll talk about him when we get to him. Harry Ford, I want to talk about Harry Ford's first AB. Worked a walk, and then they called it a pass ball. And this is the top of the fourth, everybody. They called it a wild pitch at the start, and then they called it a pass ball. Or what was it? Was it the other way? I forget what it was. It was a pretty crappy call. So, anyways, Harry Ford advanced to second. Jacob Young hit a ground rule double to right field. Right center, actually. So then it's 4-0. And then Kate Cavalli's only miscue of the night was throwing I believe it was a slider that just stayed right in the middle to Tyler Soderstrom, who can hit the ball really well. And he hit it dead center for a 2-run homer. So I'm like, okay, let's go offense. Let's get this, let's get this going. Now it's 4-2 in the top of the fifth. And then Chaparro hit an absolute moon shot into left. I think they said it was 467 feet. I think it was. So one of the longest of the year for the Nats team. Definitely the longest of his career. Chaparro, who came into the game with 7 RBIs on the season, he just had an 8 RBI game last night. I believe that ties him for third. I know Rendon had a 10 RBI game way back in 2017. I remember that. I don't know. I forget who was second, but I know he's tied with Willingham back in like 2005. He had the 2 Grand Slam game, and then Trey Turner did it with 8, I believe, also. So then that same inning, first of all, that made it 6-2. That was a 2-run home run, so 6-2. And then also in the top of the fifth, Harry Ford making his Nats debut. 2-run homer to score. What am I talking about? Obviously, it scored 2 if I just said 2-run homer. But now it's 8-2 Nats. And I'm going to talk about Harry Ford while I have the chance here. So Drew Millis, the Nats backup catcher, I would say I think he would qualify as our backup. He last year against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium got hit by a bat, and he fractured I forget what finger it was. He fractured his finger or whatever, and he was out for the rest of the year for that. And then he came back, and I guess it was still bothering him, and so he just got surgery a couple of days ago, and they were actually going to, it's funny, they're actually going to call up, so they announced that they were going to call up Harry Ford. Well, they didn't announce it, sorry. They waited 2 days or something, so they didn't have to pay him an extra, which is not like an unusual thing. Teams do this, where they tell the guy they're going to call him up, like Harry Ford. They tell Harry Ford that they're going to call him up, and they don't actually call him up, so they put Drew Millis on the IL, or the IR, whatever they call it now. I forget what they call it, the IL, yeah. And they waited 2 days to call up Harry Ford, so they didn't have to pay him extra money, which is a good move. It's what you should do. You don't want to be paying somebody like that MLB money. And Harry Ford, what he does best, drawing walks. And hey, you know what? He has a little pop to him. He showed that in the WBC with Team Great Britain. Hit a couple homers in that tournament. Obviously, we got Harry Ford from the Jose Ferrer trade last year from the Mariners. He struggled a lot in AAA Rochester for the Nats. But as of late, the past couple weeks, he's been on a hot streak, and I think that's why we call him up. I didn't see him getting called up this year. I'm really glad he did. He's really solid. Obviously, from this game, you don't want to get excited after this game. It's just one game. Now this opens up the door of a really, really, really good catching tandem between him and Keibert Ruiz, who has pretty much reinvented a new career for himself. He has struggled mightily at the major league level until this year. Keibert Ruiz has, but he has pretty much turned his career around. I think this year he's proven to be a great bat. I wouldn't say like from a power standpoint, but just getting base hits, and he's actually been a pretty good defender this year as well. So if those two can work together, man, oh man, this is the best catching duo we've had probably since, if it works, I'm not saying right now because it's only been one game for Harry Ford, and Keibert Ruiz is prone to frustrate me a couple times, but this could be the best catching duo the Nats have had since, you know, Suzuki and Gomes, and I don't want to get like hated for that because I'm not saying it yet. I know all these Nats fans are going to come at me after that, but I think if these two work out this year, this could be a Suzuki Gomes kind of thing, where Suzuki was kind of the offensive catcher. He was the offensive part of that duo. Yan Gomes played pretty well as well back in 19. He hit fine, but he was more of the. I think this is what I observed back in the day. He was more of the defensive part of it. I'm not saying either one was bad offensive or defensive. Kurt Suzuki was really good on defensively too. But I just found like those two really worked well off each other. They made for a great duo. I mean, those are some of my favorite players in Nats history. So, anyways, James Wood didn't have a great night, but he did single in the top of the sixth to make it 10-2. Jacob Young and Nasim Nunez score once again. Those two on base a lot. And then Andres Taparo singled again. He got another RBIs. So that would be his 1, 2, 3. This would be his sixth. It would be his. Sorry, it would be his fifth because he would homer later. It was 12-2 Nats in the sixth. C.J. Abrams doubled to score Chaparro to make it 13-2. Jalen Lyle singled to score Abrams, which made it 14-2. Top of the seventh, Curtis Mead doubled. That scored one, 15-2 Nats. Andres Chaparro hit a liner down the line, which I thought it was going to be a double, but it just snuck over the wall in Suter Health Park in Sacramento, which is a minor league park. The ball flies, and then in the ninth, Nats put I was really rooting for them to score 20, and they did. Dylan Cruz doubled, which was great. Harry Ford singled again, 20-2. Dan Lyle capped everything off with a 3-run homer. It was off a position player, yes, but nonetheless, 23-2 Nats, and then they scored a couple off Vivas. You know what was crazy? I was still kind of thinking, man, I don't feel like after Langeliers homered, I had this thing like, what if we blew it? It wouldn't be unlike us. It really wouldn't be. But hey, they snuck on. Vivas had a huge double play there, and there was a liner right to Dylan Cruz to win the game. So the Nats are back to 500. Really great tone setter for the second half. Like I said in my last video, these two series against the Athletics and Rockies are the most important series that I think we've had this year. I said that for the Philly series in DC. Obviously, that did not turn out good. We should have swept them, but everyone knows that story about what happened. So, Athletics and Rockies, two huge hitting ballparks, right? As we saw last night, and I hope we can continue to do that in Sacramento, and then in Colorado. Obviously, that's a pretty known hitter-friendly ballpark, Coors Field. So while that is good news for our offense, we still have another little problem of our team. I think everyone knows by this point that is the bullpen. So we will see. They didn't have to work any tonight or last night. Cornelio came in, and I wouldn't say he's really like the big part of our bullpen. So like the guys like Beater, Lawrence, all these dudes got some rest, some extra rest. Hopefully, we won't have to use them again tonight, but I don't think that's going to be the same result. Zach Littell is going tonight. So Cavalli started the finale of the first half against the Yankees, and because of the extra rest from the All-Star break, he was able to pitch today as well. So he pitched back-to-back days, and they're going to go a little different look with the starting rotation. It was Cavalli in the first half. It was Cavalli, Michaelis, Jake Irvin / Andrew Alvarez, Foster Griffin, Littell, but now they're doing Cavalli, Littell. I believe it's Foster Griffin going to go on the Sunday game at 4 o'clock. And then we have Miles Michaelis, who is currently still serving his suspension, but he will be eligible for that Monday game, the opening game. I believe he's eligible against the Rockies. Yeah, so I kind of want to I was thinking about what I said last episode about the whole buying or selling thing. I kind of want to reiterate or change what I said. People are probably like, Josh, why did you say that they should stay put? If they're winning, we should buy. And I absolutely agree. That's what I said. I don't mind them buying because I really want them to buy. But I just said what I think they will do is stay put. That's what I think they will do. My hope is that they do buy. I hope that we win or we have a 5-1 road trip, and we're looking like we're back at 4 games over 500 and we're back in the race. I hope they buy, but what I think they will do is they will stay put, and hopefully in the offseason they work it out or whatever they do, man. I don't know, but I would hope that they buy. That's my hope. That's my hope that they buy. But what I do think they will do is stay put. That's what I do think they will do. What I hope that they do is buy, though. I really want them to buy. The deadline, I think we could really make a push because folks, you don't understand. August 3rd is or maybe you do understand. I don't know why I just said that. August 3rd is the deadline. That means there's 2 months until the end of the regular season. August and September. That is a very manageable, especially in the National League where it's so close. That is a very manageable 2 months. If we buy and we get a nice couple bullpen arms and a couple rotation pieces, there's a shot, folks. We could win a lot of games. Because I'm looking at, there's a lot of big wild card games in August. There's Atlanta, there's Philly, there's Cincinnati, who are still hanging on by a thread. There's the Cubs, there are the Marlins, which is going to be huge. There's the Marlins again. We had to play them 2 more times, unfortunately. There's the Braves again. There's the Braves. There's the Padres, who may or may not be selling. I don't know. After last night against the Royals, that's unfortunate for them. I hope they put Mason Miller up on the block because that would be huge for the Nats. If the Nats could land Mason Miller, folks, I think we're back. I think it's going to be like what Max Scherzer's doing right here. I really believe so. Left up the trophy, and then some big 2-game set against the Phillies in late September, and then St. Louis, Detroit, and then the Mets to round it off. So that St. Louis series is going to be big as well. So I think if we finish off this month strong with the Athletics, the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, which is going to be a big series, huge series, the Blue Jays and the Braves. So those are the last series before the deadline. We have 2 more games against the A's, the Rockies, Arizona, Toronto, and Atlanta. And then the trade deadline is the first game against the Phillies. So I think by the Blue Jays series, we'll know what we're doing. Or at least I'll have a hunch of what we're doing. Although you never know because Atlanta series could go either way. We won the series against them back in May. So we will see how this all goes. I am very interested. I want them to get back to where we're leading more towards buying than we don't know. Because right now we're in the we don't know stage. This is a very huge couple of series for the guys. We don't know what they're going to do. I don't want to harp on the buying and selling thing too long, just because you can go on and on about it. But hey, I hope they buy. That's just my thing. Like I said tonight, Zach Littell and I don't even know who this dude is. JT Ginn. Now that I just said that, he's probably going to light us up tonight. Pretty much just not. Same stats. Littell, so far this year, he's got the ERA under 5 finally. 7-6. Sorry about the little bang there. 7-6, 4.90 ERA, 57 strikeouts, 1.31 WHIP. And then JT Ginn, 7-6, 3.67 ERA, 93 strikeouts, and 125 WHIP. So Nats have a little bit kind of the same deal as last night with the other A's pitcher that pitched last night. Same deal, and then Foster Griffin going to go on the deciding game on Sunday. I don't want to make predictions because every time I do make predictions, they don't work out. But these are the 2 series. If you're going to want to get your second and third sweep of the year, it would be this. I actually have more faith that we might sweep the A's than we do the Rockies. The Rockies, I feel like, are going to have one game where like Hunter Goodman hits 14 home runs and all these dudes go crazy. JT Rumfield hits about 17. TJ Rumfield, whatever. Did I say JT Rumfield? TJ Rumfield. The Athletics are on a bad losing streak right now. If Littell can if the Littell and the bullpen can hang on tonight, we are set up for a Foster Griffin game on Sunday. It literally is tailor made for something good to happen. We could really use it, but we will see. We will see. We have a lot of time. I wouldn't say Toronto's playing well either. Arizona lost last night, so it's close. That Arizona series is going to be really big. And let's do one little standings check. Excuse me. Let's do a little standings check about where we are. So, like, nothing really changed since I mean, one game's been played since, the All-Star break. Did Philly win last night? They didn't play last night. Okay, they didn't play. So, Nats are sitting 3 games back out of the wild card. Miami lost last night, and St. Louis won. I believe they won last night. Did St. Louis win last night? Yeah, they beat Arizona. So, they moved up. Miami moved down out of the wild card position, but they are tied. So, I don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. They're tied for the 3rd wild card spot. And then it goes Pittsburgh, whose game got delayed last night because of the California wildfires, the haze and stuff like that. And then Arizona is a half game ahead of us. So, hopefully the Nats hang on these next 2 series. And, it's kind of a lose-lose because then, if Arizona wins or if Arizona loses, that means the Cardinals win. So, it's kind of a lose-lose there. The Nats are still in it. So are the Padres. And I actually said the Reds are hanging on by a thread. They are probably out. So, it kind of goes the Padres, the last team that really stands a chance here. And then it goes Giants, the Mets, and the Rockies. So, we will see about all that. Like I said, I'm really hoping for, a sweep, hopefully, and then a series win against the Rockies. Like I said, I feel like we're probably going to lose a game against the Rockies, maybe, hopefully not 2. If we lose a series to the Rockies, there's a pretty big problem, and I think that's going to really put a dent in the Nats' dreams of buying this year. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it all goes. Again, I don't make good predictions. I never have. I'm not a predictions guy. Everything I say always turns the opposite, so we will see about that. Like I said, I'm going to try, probably not this series because I just did one today. At the maybe midpoint of the Rocky series, I'll probably throw up another video talking about that series and how this series goes. We will see. I'm really rooting for the Nats. We will see Michaelis and Coors Field how that goes. Let's focus on the A's first. Zach Littell going tonight. Foster Griffin tomorrow. We will see. Thank you everybody for watching this episode of Attitude News. I will be on YouTube, and I think I'm gonna try to put some on Spotify here pretty soon, so you guys can listen to it in the car if you want, or listen on your walks or whatever you want to do. That'd be much appreciated. Yeah, I apologize if it's kind of quick episode. Only one game to talk about. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much for tuning in. And go Nats, and we'll see how this goes tonight. We will see. Thank you everybody for watching.